the NFL director, fansided.com, Matt Verderame, joins us here for a few minutes on Big Board Sports. Matt, Rodger, Wyland in Albany, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Matt. Appreciate a few minutes. We carry the Jets here on this station, and tomorrow is the deadline for Muhammad Wilkerson and the Jets. What do you think the most likely outcome will be in the contract situation for Wilkerson and Gang Green?
Well, there's really been no movement to this point. Wilkerson's entrenched. He wants to be paid like one of the highest paid defensive tackles and defensive ends in the league. And you're talking about a guy like Fletcher Cox, who just got signed by the Eagles. He got signed for over $100 million, $63.5 million guaranteed. Jets aren't going anywhere near that. They don't believe that Wilkerson's worth that since they drafted Leonard Williams last year. They think can replace him. So I wouldn't expect the deal to be shocking if one happened. And then I think the question is, how long does Wilkerson hold out? I think he'll hold out through camp. My guess is he'll hold out probably through September, but he'll be back at some point because he wants to accrue that year of free agency, and he's got to play at least 6 games to do so.
And Matt, he's a good player, right? I mean, he's coming off a really good season. The Jets could really use him on the field.
Oh, in my opinion, he's the best player on the team. I think he's surpassed Darrelle Revis at this point. Revis is still an excellent player, but he's not maybe who he once was. And I think right now, Wilkerson's the best guy going. This has been a tough off season for the Jets. They brought in Matt Forte to replace Chris Ivory, which is a nice move. But beyond that, the Brickshaw Ferguson retires. Ryan Fitzpatrick's still unsigned. There's a lot of question marks. And losing Wilkerson for any amount of time come the regular season, it's a blow. He is arguably, outside of J.J. Watt, the best 3-4 defensive end in football.
Did the Eagles ruin everything for everybody with the Fletcher Cox deal? Is that really what's causing all the problems here?
It's caused a few. You look out in Denver, and Von Miller right now still without a contract. We're a little more than 24 hours away from the franchise tag deadline. But, there was a lot of talk that one of the reasons there's been such a holdup is that money to Cox, who wasn't even a free agent yet. It's still had a year to go before he could even be tagged. So now you're talking Von Miller wants $70 million guaranteed instead of maybe being okay with 55 to 60. And then I think you look over on the other side, with the Jets, Wilkerson's a defensive lineman, doesn't play the same position Cox does. Cox plays 4-3 defensive tackle. But I think, Wilkerson looks at it, says he has similar skill sets. And to be fair to Wilkerson, if he hits the free agent market, he's going to get paid like Fletcher Cox did.
Matt, it's Brady here. Tom Brady likely to remain suspended 4 games, assuming that he is. What do the Patriots have in Jimmy Garoppolo, and how can Bill Belichick use him to make the Patriots successful for those first 4 games?
Brady, it's tough to say with Jimmy Garoppolo what you have because you haven't seen him play. He's never been in a meaningful moment in the NFL. He did have a little mop-up duty a couple of years ago in Kansas City during that famous Monday night blowout. He played well in preseason last year when some thought he might be the starter as Brady was originally suspended last season. You just don't know. My guess would be that Belichick will play it very close to the vest with Garoppolo. It'll be a lot of short throws, a lot of running the football. But the Pats aren't built to do a lot of running the football. They don't do that game. It's a lot of timing routes. It's a lot of option routes with Gronk and with Edelman. So it'll be interesting. But don't forget, this is the same team, to some degree here, that with Matt Castle won 11 games. So I don't, the idea that the Patriots are just going to see their demise is greatly exaggerated.
We're talking with Matt Verderame, the NFL director, fansided.com. NFL training camps are ready to roll. Matt, biggest team, most fan base in this area is the Giants. It's probably not even that close. Let's start there. Do you think this Giants team can challenge to win the NFC East this year, given all the money they've spent in the offseason to upgrade the defensive side of the ball?
I think they can, and for 2 reasons. One is I don't think the division's that good. I don't think Philadelphia is that good of a team. I think Dallas has a lot of question marks. And Romo at this point, you got to say he's a liability injury-wise. You don't know if he's going to be able to stay upright for 16 games. And the Redskins last year, hey, more power to them. They went 9-7, but I think you'll look at the Redskins and say that's probably the ceiling for that team. I don't think all of a sudden they're going to jump to 11-5 this season. So the Giants, I thought the signing of Damon Harrison away from the Jets, I thought was a great move. He's really going to give them a nice run stuffer up the middle. Olivier Vernon, the Giants flat out overpaid, but he's a good player. On the field, he'll have 8 to 10 sacks. And so I think Janoris Jenkins also, a good move. They lost Prince Amukamara, so you look at him come in. I think, the Giants, offensively, they're going to score points. The question with the Giants, as you mentioned, how well can they play defense? And there's a big question mark in the Giants is that linebacking core. it's just a liability right now. But if they can cover that up a little bit, if Ben McAdoo can do a good job in his first year head coach, I could see the Giants winning 9 games or so and being right in the mix for the NFC.
Quick follow-up. How do you think Ben McAdoo is going to do in his first year?
You know, he did a good job as the offensive coordinator last year. They had a little bit of some bumps in the road early on, but I thought he acquitted himself well. I think, he had a year to learn the team, learn, the personalities in the room. I think that's huge. It's underrated. I think McAdoo is a good hire. I think he'll do fine.
Matt, what's the hottest seat in New York football world? Is it Jerry Reese, the GM of the Giants? Is it Rex Ryan, the coach of the Bills? Or is it just the quarterback situation in general with the Jets? What's the hottest seat in New York football land?
Well, it's a tough question. I think right now all 3 of those seats are fairly warm. I think with the Jets it's just impossible to say because I still think they're going to sign Fitzpatrick. I just think at some point they're going to watch Geno Smith in training camp and realize if we want to win anything at all, we need to bring in another quarterback. But I think the hottest seat right now is Rex Ryan because that's a team that has talent. The Bills for a long time just weren't that good. They Trent Edwards, J.P. Lewis. Tyrod Taylor went to the Pro Bowl last year. He can play. They have Sammy Watkins. They have a good defense. And if Rex Ryan can't get that team to win 9, 10 games and at least, at minimum, get to the playoffs, I think Ryan's going to face a real challenge to see year 3 in Buffalo.
Wow. So you really think a losing season, no postseason again because of the talent level, that they would go through again another coaching change even after 2 years with Rex?
They've gone through so many coaching changes. They had Doug Marrone for a year. He goes 9-7, then he takes an opt-out clause and he leaves. And now they bring in Rex. And last year, that defense went from a top 5 unit to, I believe, 19th ranked somewhere in that vicinity. They had a steep drop-off. And when you look at this team, there's talent everywhere. Ronald Darby was a great standout corner as a rookie last year. You have Stephon Gilmore. Up front, you got guys like Jerry Hughes. And, of course, Marcel Darius. And I think the offense, there's talent. I mean, this isn't a team that should be 8-8, 7-9. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. I don't think they're that talented. But I think the Bills are talented enough that, they should absolutely compete with teams like Oakland. Even Denver this year looks to be taking a little bit of a step back. Teams like Cincinnati. The Bills should be in that mix for a wild card spot in the AFC. And if they're not, I think Ryan's in trouble.
I am so sick and tired of talking about the Bills not making the playoffs. I just want them to make the playoffs. Just make the playoffs, please, so we don't have to sit here and talk every single offseason. Is this the year they're going to make it? Let's make it and have something different to talk about. And I like Rex, and I root for him to win. Is there a breakout team for you that you see this year in the NFL, one of those teams that stunk up the joint maybe last year that will be a whole lot better this season?
If I had to look anywhere, I think one team that maybe isn't getting the amount of love they should is I think Tampa Bay is going to be better than people think. James Winston came in last year, had some good games, had some bad games, but really looked like an NFL franchise quarterback. They've got a lot of offensive talent on that team. Dirk Cutter's come in. He's highly respected. I would have stuck with Lovie Smith. I think he's got the shaft there. I think he should have gotten another year. But, defensively, that team's got some talent on it. Vernon Hargrave's come in to add on to a team that has Levante David, Gerald McCoy. I think the Buccaneers are going to be a team that competes in the NFC South. I wouldn't put them above Carolina right now. I think Carolina's a team to beat, obviously, in that division. But I think Tampa's the second-best team in that division and could compete for a wild card spot.
Man, I'm sticking in the same state, but I think Jacksonville is the breakout team. What do you think of the Jaguars? Because they've quietly started to build a nice core there.
It's not a bad call. I think the Jaguars really hit the nail on the head there in the draft. I think Miles Jack was a great pick in the second round. He got some injury history, but if he's healthy, he's a huge steal. Jalen Ramsey, I thought, was the safest player in the whole draft. And, they added a lot in free agency. Chris Ivory coming over for the Jets, Lee Jackson on down the line. It's a bad division. So I would agree. I think Jacksonville will win that division. Quite honestly, I don't do that much of a sleeper at this point. I think people look at Jacksonville and say, that's a pretty decent team. My only concern with them is the offensive line. That offensive line is terrible. And that of course, can lead to some pretty big problems. Can't protect. Bortles is going to be running for his life, throwing more interceptions. Matt,
I've got a 9-year-old who loves the Bengals, so I just hope for a good season for Cincinnati. I can't handle the bad mood of a 9-year-old when the Bengals don't win every Sunday, for crying out loud.
You know what? The Bengals are, again, they had a few losses in the offseason with Marvin Jones, Mohamed Sanu, but they're a really good team. You know, that team, again, I pick them to make playoffs. I think they'll be back in there. But as apparently, as you know, with your 9-year-old son, are they ever going to win a playoff game?
Yeah.
You know, there's 5 years in a row they've gotten it. Should have won last year, and they fell apart at the end. And you know, the talent's there. The talent is there in Cincinnati. I don't think it's a Super Bowl team, but I think it's a team that certainly, if they could just get over that hump in the playoffs, could make some noise. There's a lot of ability on both sides of the ball in Cincinnati.
Matt Verderame, NFL director, fansided.com. Great work, good info. Training camp right around the corner. Hopefully you got a couple of weeks off maybe before it gets too crazy.
It's nuts already with all the franchise tag stuff.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for a few minutes on Big Board Sports.
Thank you. No problem.